Hi, Kandinsky friends. It's Miss Kirsten here, tuning in from the couch and with a cup of coffee. I am just kind of waking up, but by the time you see this video, it'll probably be the afternoon. So I hope you had a great start to your day. And in order to have a great start to mine, I was thinking about starting our book together, Spring According to Humphrey, by Betty G. Burney. Now, I know that the week before our last week together, we started this book and we just about finished chapter 1, but for the sake of this series, I am planning on reading chapter 1 in this video, and then I will go ahead and read chapter 2 and onwards. But if you are a student who said, Miss Kirsten, I know chapter 1, I remember hearing it, I do not need to hear it again, then you can go ahead and wait for chapter 2 to come out. Or you can listen to chapter 1 again and then be an expert on chapter 1. All right, so I'm going to get a sip of coffee and get this book going. There is a 15-minute cap on YouTube videos, so I'm going to try my best to read chapter 1 within 15 minutes. If I can't, then I will just upload a second part for chapter 1. All right? All right. Get cozy, relax, and I hope you can hear my voice through my laptop audio. I'll try to speak up, but my fiance, Elliot, is sleeping because he is working tonight. So I'm going to try to keep my voice a little soft, but loud enough for you to hear me. Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is called March Misery. Let's find out why. I didn't hear Mrs. Brisbane's keys turn as she opened the door that morning. I was sound asleep, snuggled under the bedding in my cage. It had been a cold, cold, cold night, and I was dreaming of summer. Nice, warm, sunny summer. Suddenly, I heard Mrs. Brisbane say, "Be careful, Kelsey, your boots are wet." And then she shouted, "Simon, slow down. I don't want anyone sliding across the floor and getting hurt." I poked my head out of the bedding and saw Mrs. Brisbane and most of my fellow classmates in room 26 coming through the door. They wore caps and gloves and heavy jackets and big boots. "Sorry I was late," Mrs. Brisbane continued. "The ice had traffic backed up. I'm glad you all made it here safely." Ice? Just the word gave me a chill. My cage sits near the windowsill, so I decided to peek outside. "Eek!" I squeaked. "Boing!" my neighbor Og chimed in. For most of the year, I looked out at trees and grass in the school parking lot. In the fall, the trees are red and gold. In the winter, they have branches that are either bare or tipped with snow. But on this March day, the trees were silvery icicles, sparkling like diamonds. The brown earth glistened with a thin coating of shiny crystals. "I hate winter," Daniel said. I turned and saw my friends all seated at their tables. "I like deep snow when you can make snowmen and go sledding," helpful Holly said. "I only like snow when I get a snow day." "Do it all and now," Daniel said. A lot of my friends agreed. "I think ice is cool," Simon said. "I skated down our driveway this morning without any skates." "Ooh, that's dangerous," calm down Cassie said. "My mom slipped on the ice and broke her arm a couple of years ago." Mrs. Brisbane nodded. "It is dangerous, Simon." Simon just shrugged and said, "I think it's fun." "I like snow." "Not now," Nicole shivered. "But I don't like ice. It's just so icy." The way she said it made me shiver, too. Mrs. Brisbane walked over to the windowsill and peered down at my cage. "Are you warm enough, Humphrey?" she asked. "It might be too cold for you next to the window." "I'm all right," I answered, "as long as I have nice warm bedding and my fur coat." Unfortunately, since I am the classroom hamster, all she heard was squeak, 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 squeak Then Mrs. Brisbane turned to Og. He's the pet frog in room 26. How are you, Og? I know frogs don't like cold weather. Og hopped up and down and made his usual weird sound. Boing, boing. Mrs. Brisbane turned back to the class. Well, I don't like snow or ice when it makes me late for school. Tell the truth, Thomas waved his hand, and our teacher called on him. It's the beginning of March. It's not supposed to snow in March, he complained. But Mrs. Brisbane smiled. But sometimes it does snow. Have you heard the saying, March comes in like a lion, but goes out like a lamb? What? I squeaked. Some of the students sitting close to me giggled. It means that at the beginning of March, we often have some wild weather roaring in, but by the time April rolls around, the weather is usually mild, like a lamb, she explained. Mrs. Brisbane is unsqueakably smart. How does she know so much? Small Paul Fletcher raised his hand. Meteorologists say that extreme winter weather is usually over around the end of February here, he said, but it has been known to snow in March. Besides, this was a mix of freezing rain and snow. Small Paul is smart, smart, smart. Maybe he'll be a meteorologist someday. But wait, don't they study meteors from outer space? Mrs. Brisbane nodded. Meteorologists study weather, she said, so they would know. Rolling Rosie raised her hand. I don't like ice. It's hard to stop my wheelchair sometimes. I was surprised because Rolling Rosie is great at handling her wheelchair. She even knows how to pop a wheelie. Does anybody know when the first day of spring is? Mrs. Brisbane asked. I glanced out the window again. It's definitely not today, I squeaked. Too far away, just Joey grumbled. Again, Small Paul raised his hand. March 20th, he said. Some of my friends groaned. That's weeks away. Stop talking, Sophie said. I was still feeling cold and shivery, so I jumped on my wheel and began to spin. That always gets my whiskers wiggling again. The door opened, and Hurry Up Harry walked in. Sorry I'm late, he said. We were stuck in lots of traffic. He handed Mrs. Brisbane a piece of paper. I have a note from the office. Mrs. Brisbane nodded. Go take off your wet jacket and boots, he said. Harry strolled to the cloakroom. I think he could have hurried up a little bit more, but that's just the way he is. Maybe spring will come faster if we pay attention to the signs that the season is beginning. Mrs. Brisbane said, and I also want to tell you about something to look forward to. There were murmurings around the room. I could tell she's gotten my classmates' interest. Mrs. Brisbane always does. Tell us, please, Kelsey said. We need good news, Felipe added. Please, 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 I begged her. Mrs. Brisbane smiled. Longfellow School is having a family fun night in April. There will be games, prizes, and pizza for your whole family, and they're all invited. I like pizza, Thomas said, as long as it doesn't have mushrooms. He made a face and everybody laughed. There will be lots more to eat than just pizza, Mrs. Brisbane continued, and each classroom has to come up with an activity or a game. It will take some work, but it'll be so much fun. The news seemed to please my friends. I don't know much about family fun nights, or pizza, or mushrooms, but I do know about having fun. I like it. Tall Paul raised his hand. What night of the week is it? He asked. It's a Thursday, our teacher answered. Tall Paul moaned. I figured. What's wrong? Mrs. Brisbane asked. My mom's a nurse, and she works Thursday nights. She could come on Wednesday, though, he replied. I don't think we can change the date at this point. Mrs. Brisbane said, maybe she can switch with somebody. Paul shook his head. It's hard to change days. She's going to be disappointed. I think everybody in room 26 was disappointed for Paul G. I certainly was. Well, my dad probably can't come. I only see him on weekends, just Joey said. I know it's hard when not everyone can make it, but I promise you'll still have fun, Mrs. Brisbane said. Yeah, Thomas agreed. You can still eat pizza, unless it has mushrooms. Then Mrs. Brisbane went back to talking about spring and assigned all of us in her class to start looking for signs of the seasons and writing their observations down. Don't forget to use all of your senses, she said. Sight, smell, taste, feel, and touch. When you find a sign of spring, write down the date and what you observed. Then either attach a photo or make a drawing of it. I'll be posting them on the bulletin board. Slow down, Simon waved his hand, and Mrs. Brisbane called on him. You can't take a picture of a smell, he said. Mrs. Brisbane agreed. Then use your words to describe it. But if you can get a picture of the thing that you smelled, that would be great. Simon's feet, someone said. I'm not sure, but I think it was Tall Paul. I think he meant it as a joke, because everybody giggled, including Simon. Boing, boing, Og said in his twangy voice. I guess he got the joke too. Then Mrs. Brisbane moved on to talking about math and carrying numbers. I was way too sleepy to carry anything, so I crawled into my little sleeping hut for a morning nap. While I dozed, I had a dream. All my friends from room 26 were coming up to my cage and introducing me to their family members. Of course, because I spent each weekend at a different student's home. I knew most of them. Humphrey, here's my mom, they said. Or Humphrey, this is my dad. I met everybody in my dream, from brothers and sisters to aunts and uncles and grandparents, of all shapes and sizes. Humans have so many relatives. I don't know how they keep them all straight, and each family is different in a special way. When I woke up, I had a funny feeling. Where were my mom and dad? Where were my sisters, my brothers? Did I have aunts and uncles or cousins? As far as I could tell, all I had were human friends and Og the frog. I considered him a good friend, but I'm pretty sure we're not related. We certainly don't look alike. I have beautiful golden fur. He is green and has no fur at all. How does he stay warm? I have a tiny mouth and tiny eyes. Og's eyes are huge, and so is his mouth. I say squeak, he says boing. No, we're definitely not related. I'm just going to see how much time. Okay, we have 13 minutes. I am going to stop right there, and I'm going to finish the rest of chapter 1 in a second part. All right? So I will see you in the second part and for chapter 2. I hope you have a great rest of your day if I do not upload that today, and I will see you soon. All right, take care. Bye.